Morning. I'm Dr. Diane Suarez. I'm a senior lecturer in the section of radiology at UMONA. So today we're going to have a short talk on research matters. For a few years now, I've just been doing a little research module with the postgrad students in radiology because there is now a requirement for production of a research project. And the point is we are meant to be training academic, not just clinical radiologists. So the tutorial series is meant to facilitate their understanding of matters related to research, because as the COVID pandemic should have illustrated to a lot of us, research is ongoing, not just in medicine, but COVID was about matters of a medical persuasion, and we could see real time how various things affected it. And it's been a very important lesson for all of us. So this is just a little introduction. So here we go. So why do we do research? Some of us do research because we're interested. Like myself, I went to work at the University of the West Indies because I had a research interest. Unfortunately, I've been able to participate in some very interesting projects over the years. And, it has to do with my personality. I like to find things out. And as it stands, there are gaps in the body of knowledge. So this new disease came around, people didn't know what it was, and they had to be researching what caused it. Eventually, they found that it was a coronavirus, and we went on to find out this stuff about COVID-1, all the variants, the various vaccines, the pros and cons. And so those would be gaps in the body of knowledge that persons would try to plug the gap. There are persons who are not particularly interested, but it is a requirement for completion of training, as it is for our postgrads at the University of the West Indies. We have to do a research project. And as most academics would know, research output is a requirement for promotion at all academic institutions. So there are various resources and they vary. You might have stuff online. There's free stuff. There's a lot of information that persons would share. I'm planning to post this on YouTube, so anybody who wants can access it. It will be public. And there are all sorts of experts who have posted video tutorials on all manner of topics, and they're very generous and you're free to access. And the reproduction, of course, there might be some copyright issues, but they're less of a problem if you're not planning to use their material for financial gain. So we have online resources. There are online resources at the university. There's a city program, which is still in existence. You can, it's an online ethics certification. There are other resources with regards to research. The Caribbean Institute for Health Research, they have an online training program. Costs a few pennies to register for it, but it is also there. And of course, if we step out of the university, there are all sorts of training courses available. Some that you don't have to pay for, and some of them, if you want to get accredited, you need to pay a fee, but the training is available. We have human resources, staff and faculty at FMS, both at Mona and St. Augustine. And also, if you're doing research, you might want to find out about the availability of funding for said projects. So this tutorial series that I'm going through has a few topics. Try to be practical, try to stick to the basics. I'm no great expert, but if you're at an entry level, I think I can provide some assistance. So the introduction is this presentation. There'll be little PowerPoint talks on ethics involving research on human subjects, critical appraisal of the literature, presentation skills, choosing a research topic, study design, proposal, protocol writing, and a proposal is a protocol that's being submitted to a funding agency trying to get monies to do said project. Measurements, basic stuff, or maybe not so basic. We all learn about weighing things and measuring things with a ruler, but there are also things that are measured, for instance, opinions, knowledge levels, which require use of questionnaires as opposed to a scale or a ruler or a tape measure. So there are various nuances to that and different ways of looking at stuff, data collection, including questionnaires, comparing means. Basic data analysis. I am no statistician and I have no such ambition. I have had extensive training, but I don't use it routinely, so my facility is limited. Practicals. So we have had various presentations in a group setting, and for those of you who are not a part of a structured research training program, having your own little group to work with can also facilitate you. And you can have brainstorming sessions, you discuss what kind of topics you might want to do, and somebody would start to suggest what the project might entail, and others might start to point out the strengths or the weaknesses of same. And to continue, there are some that are these would be the shorter tutorials, and they would have a more practical approach, some basic information on abstract writing. What are keywords? Some pointers on poorly written papers, electronic reference management, bad habits with regards to presentation skills. There's also some interesting stuff online with statistics. There are actually books written about it, and some pearls with regard to getting published. So we have a few documents, and there could be more added to this list. But you have your internal review board checklist. That's your ethics committee, in other words. And any research that is meant to take place has to go through ethics and be cleared by ethics. You have a template that you can use to write your protocol. You have your consent form, and there's a thesis guide put out by the University of the West Indies. And it speaks to various faculties and different levels of research and what their guidelines are. And I presume that other institutions would have similar documents with a hard copy, more likely soft copy, that can assist candidates in preparing their projects. So just a basic run through of what a project protocol might look like. Of course, you're going to have a title. You'll have to have your author list. There needs to be an introduction. What is this project all about? What is the aim of the project and what are the objectives? Background can be various lengths depending on the stipulations, because if you're submitting a protocol, whichever institution is accepting it, they will have their own guidelines as to how long it is supposed to be, and they might actually have different subject headings. You need to state the purpose of the protocol. You need to have a study design, subject population. There's also meant to be something with regard to the benefit and risk. The consent procedures, if any, are necessary, and if they're not necessary, you need to state why not. Confidentiality procedures, because we're using human subjects, and you need to protect patients and subjects' privacy. I know we live in an age of everything being published on social media, on WhatsApp, whatever, but it is not necessarily appropriate for all situations, and confidentiality of subjects has to be maintained. And if there's going to be any violation or any breach of confidentiality, of course, it has to be with their consent. References, of course, have to be clearly stated at the end of any protocol, and they have to be cited as necessary, because, of course, plagiarism is a big issue. You're not meant to steal a person's work, but the point is you can use their work as a platform for your work, because there is such a thing as presenting and publishing your methods. And if somebody has done a similar project, you can check on their methodology and see if it is appropriate to your situation. And if indeed it is, you may use it if they have it out there, and you need to give due credit where credit is due. So this is a checklist. It's a sample checklist. As I said, things evolve, they can change over time, but you have to have the title of the study, principal investigator, who are the co-investigators, who is the coordinator. Is the study considered minimal risk? Are you going to be doing any interventions? Is the intervention education? Are you going to teach people how to dispose of sharp instruments? Or is the intervention some kind of medication? Is there funding available? Is radiation going to be involved? Are they going to get chest x-rays? Are you going to give them any IV radiopharmaceuticals? And what about the information with regards to the participants? You're going to need to record some demographics, their age, their body weight might be important, their height, dietary information might be important, various things. Is there going to be any blood drawn for the research purpose? Are you going to compensate participants? Are any investigational drugs or devices to be used? All of these things are very important, and they need to be made clear to the review board, i.e. ethics committees, because you might think, okay, fine, you're a good person and you're not going to do anything to harm anybody, but sometimes the harm is more insidious and you probably wouldn't be able to figure it out. You would not notice. And it needs to be clear to all concerned on the committee that this thing, it's transparent and there's no apparent risk to anybody, or if there's a risk, it's minimized and there is justification for it. And, are there any special employee protection procedures? All sorts of stuff. And it could go on longer depending on the complexity of the project. And to close, I'll just mention the research toolkit. So there's the ethics committee for UE has a website. There's a schedule of meetings. So if you want to submit your protocol, you can see when the next meeting is, when is the deadline for submission, etc. And there is a new research studies toolkit that was produced by the Clinical Translational Research Unit at FMS Mona, and it is available at their website, I believe. I actually have an electronic copy of it, so I can share with those of you who are interested. And that's all for now. So as I said, this was just a brief introduction. So all the best with your research. Happy researching. Bye.